whether the Lord thy God have scattered thee.
See, he gonna gather you from them nations where he had you scattered at. See, and we ain't been gathered yet, have we? We know our forefathers came here as slaves, and we still reeling from the effects of shadow slavery. We still reeling from the effects of that. And definitely ain't went nowhere, ain't went home, it ain't changed. Matter of fact, I'm one that changed my name, but the majority of my brothers and sisters still got the slave owner's name. And you gonna tell me you ain't no slave? Come on, you got the slave owner name. You can find the same one. I looked up the name I used to have, Keelan. I looked it up, went in a phone book in Tennessee. A real Southern Gentile answered the phone. I called the number. He answered, the Keelan residence. I said, well, that probably was one of the slave owners. But I'm just saying, we still got the names. So you can't say you still not in slavery. You still got the slave owner's name as a whole. But that just shows you. But again, God put you in that predicament. But he said here that then the Lord thy God will turn your captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations will the Lord thy God have scattered thee. Verse 4.
If any of thy be driven out unto the outmost part of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from this will he fetch thee.
See, the Lord said, I don't care where you at, I'm going to bring you back. I don't care if you under a rock in Australia, I don't care where you at. From this, the Lord thy God will gather you, and from this, that shows you how important this is to the Lord. Now, this Lord is Jesus, who going to gather Israel from slavery, from captivity. That's what it said, right? Verse 5.
And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed.
See, it ain't about you going to heaven either. We've been taught that a lot, like it's all about going to heaven. No, it's about having your land. Everybody else got some land. The Palestinians want some land so bad, when they didn't have no weapons, they was throwing bricks. Everybody know the importance of land except us. You know, only thing is some people got it twisted, like some of the Muslim brothers, you know, Farrakhan them said, look, they said the people gonna need to give us some land. Look, ain't nobody gonna give you nothing. The Palestinians got the right idea, fight for it, but in this case, the Lord is gonna take it for Israel. So only thing Israel's job is to serve the Lord. And the Lord is going to give them that land back. That's what he said here, that the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which your fathers, that meaning your forefathers possessed, right? But then later got kicked off of it, right? And you end up in slavery, right? He going to take you into the land which your fathers possessed. And now what you going to do?
And thou shalt possess it.
It's going to be your turn. Go ahead.
And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy father.
But now it's all about land. And he said he don't care where any of yours are. Read verse 3 again.
That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whether the Lord thy God have scattered thee.
So he's going to bring you from slavery from these nations and take you to that land. But verse 4.
If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost part of heaven, from this will the Lord thy God gather thee.
Notice he used the term heaven, which really referring to the earth, but it's going to be heaven right here on earth when he get through. So notice he said, if any of you be driven out to the outmost parts of heaven, from this will the Lord thy God gather thee, right? Let's show you who that Lord is going to gather you from all over the outmost parts of heaven. This is it, Matthew 24. Let's show you who that is. See, most people don't know that this is at the top of Jesus' agenda. Remember, he ain't forgot about Israel. If he told the woman he was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, surely Israel is still on his radar. Surely. So if Jesus is making a second coming, I got to know that he got some plans for Israel, especially if Israel is still in captivity all over the world. I got to know he got some plans for Israel. And that's at the top of his agenda. That's why we know when he come back, he going to take over this world. That's what the whole thing is about, his second coming. But it's not about rapturing you up to heaven. It's about him straightening out the earth. That's why he said, pray thy kingdom come. Matthew 24 and 29. Go ahead.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Now, we read about this last week. That's leading up to Jesus coming. One of the signs, you're going to have great tribulation. We read about the man moving into the holy place and all of that. That's leading up to Jesus coming. Then, when he on his way after tribulation, the sun going to get dark. The moon not going to shine. The sky going to literally roll back, and here he come. Go ahead, verse 30.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven.
Here he come now.
And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Now he coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. But he not coming to take nobody off the earth. He coming to do what Moses just told us in Deuteronomy 30 and gather these people from the outmost parts of heaven and take them back to that land. That's at the top of his agenda. He's going to do other stuff. He's going to take over the world. He's going to raise the dead. But verse 31.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet.
Oh, he got them angels with a great sound of a trumpet. Go ahead.
And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
Oh, then he going to send his angels with that trumpet, and they going to do what? Gather together his elect. Who is the elect? Elect means chosen. Israel is God's chosen people. See, and other people that believe, other nationalities, whoever believe the truth. Like that woman believed when Jesus said he was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel. She believed and her daughter got healed. Well, other nationalities that believe God gonna have them with Israel, but his purpose is still for Israel. That's like Jesus said, I'm only sent to the lost sheep. But in John 10, he said, I got other sheep, I'm gonna bring them, and it's still gonna be one fold. So he ain't gonna forget about the other nationalities. But you got to know his purpose first and foremost is Israel, isn't it? He said they're going to gather together his elect from the four winds. Notice it said from one end of heaven to the other, like it was said in Deuteronomy 30. All over. He said, if any of you are scattered out to the outmost parts of heaven, I'm going to bring you back. Well, that's what he said. But now, he said, what did he say? From the four winds. From one end of heaven to the other. Now, the four winds talking about east, west, north, and south, but we're going to show you that was already said in Isaiah. Make sure you know this is Israel, and this is it. Isaiah 11. This was already said. Jesus was just repeating something that was written already. A couple of places. Because Moses said he's going to turn your captivity and gather you if any of yours be scattered out to the outmost parts of heaven. But Isaiah talked about the four winds. He just called it something else. But it's the same thing. He got to gather this people that's been scattered in slavery for years, having never went home, even went on slave ships. He got to bring them back. All this show you who Israel really is. Isaiah 11 and verse 12. Go ahead.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nation, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel.
The outcasts. Israel been cast out. So he going now when he bring them back, he going to assemble the cast out, or the outcast of Israel. Go ahead.
And gather together the dispersed of Judah.
See, Judah too. So the Jews, all of them in slavery. You don't got no Jews over in the promised land and the other ones still in slavery. Now all of them in slavery, and all of them going to come back together. So the ones over there, that's what Jesus said. He know about them that say they Jews and are not. So he said he's going to gather the outcasts, assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed. That means you've been dispersed out, brothers and sisters, of Judah. From where?
From the four corners of the earth.
Oh, from all over the world, the four corners of the earth. That's what Jesus said in Matthew 24, verse 31. He's going to send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. They're going to gather together his elect from where? The four winds. Where the four winds and the four corners of the earth is one and the same. East, west, north, and south. And it's going to be miraculous. But go ahead, back up to verse 11 now and read that. I'm sorry, verse 10.
And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek. And his rest shall be glorious.
See, the Gentiles going to be a part of this as well. See, he's not excluding nobody. He's just showing you how he started with Israel. Just like he didn't exclude nobody when he brought Israel out of slavery in Egypt, it was a mixed multitude that left with him. Other nationalities, in other words. left with them because they believed in the same God that was working with Israel. Well, you got Gentiles that's believe to this day. We got Gentiles here today that believe. And Jesus said you can have some Israel that don't believe. They ain't going to make it in. Then you have a Gentile from another nation that believe. They going to be in. That's how God is. He's not respect a person. He got an order now. He got an order how he do things, but he's not a respect a person. If whoever you are, you got the chance to do his will or not do it. It's up to you. Whether you Jew or Gentile, you got that chance. See, so that don't change the fact that he got order. That's why he said that the Gentiles right here don't seek his rest. At verse 10, he said, in that day there should be a root of Jesse, which is Jesus. He's the root of Jesse and the offspring of David. And shall stand for an ensign to the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glory. It's going to be 1,000 years of rest, peace. But go ahead, verse 11.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea.
Notice Israel is scattered, going to be scattered all over, all these different countries, which most of these are African countries. But then he touched on the islands of the sea, which is where the Gentiles is at, which is where we at now. This is an island of the sea, really. That's what it is. So he named all these countries. Then he named the islands of the sea. He said that's when the Lord, that's where he going to bring Israel back from. Notice he said the second time, because the only time this is comparable to is when they came out of Egypt. This is going to be greater than when Moses brought the children of Israel out of slavery in Egypt. That's going to be you ain't even going to talk about, you ain't going to see no Ten Commandment movie with Hugh Brennan them no more. You ain't going to see that no more because, not just because the picture wasn't painted right. You ain't going to see it because that's going to be low on the totem pole compared to when God do this. This is going to be the memory to everybody. If you make a picture, it'll be about this. That's why he said the second time. The first time was Egypt. This time is when Jesus come back. But now skip down to verse 15 and we're going to wrap it up.
And the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongues of the Egyptian sea, and with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the 7 streams, and make men go over dry shod.
See, like they went over dry shod through the Red Sea? Well, this is something new he going to do in the last days. Verse 16, and this is it.
And there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people.
For the remnant, go ahead.
Which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt.
See, he compared it back to that. Just like that. He's going to bring Israel back from slavery, but this time from all over the world. So I hope you got some understanding in Jesus' name.